fairly interesting, quick, but a fairly interesting look into the retro game program that GameStop is doing.
Pilot program.
And their restoration. The restoration of what they do. And, they show pictures of it, and it's...
We're talking about the warehouse this gets sent to.
Yeah, where things get sent to.
They send the games, when they're traded into still the New York and Alabama / Louisiana locations, they get sent to a place, they get cleaned, they get tested, they freaking Windex them and clean the labels and shit.
So, in it, he talks about, all these things they do for cleaning, and I wish I had a 20-person team to take apart all our cartridges, clean the hand crap out of the crevices of controllers. I mean, we do all this, but I would love to have the team to do it. I'm happy that they're doing it, and if people keep getting clean games from GameStop, that's cool. I'm happy about that. They also talk about how rigorously they test these things. Now, it's funny, because they do talk about how with an NES, it's oftentimes just a matter of cleaning the pin connector, which is cool. They kind of admit that, that's not a particularly hard system to work on.
Sure, let's back up. This is a Mashable article that came out where a guy got inside the warehouse and showing him testing. They're wearing gloves. They're wiping off NES controllers with a cleaner. They have a retro gaming sign in the background to designate the area. It's interesting that they're doing this. It is.
So, it is. What gets me though is, there's a lot of good things said here. Like I said, the cleaning, the testing, making sure things work before they send them out. But I also feel like GameStop, or this article, in some way is blowing out of proportion what is likely happening. Mm-hmm. Putting them through a quality assurance program really isn't a whole lot more than testing both controller ports and making sure a disc loads up. It's not like there's a fucking 20-point, checklist. And if there is...
It's not a brake inspection.
And if there is, it's utterly pointless.
Yeah.
Cleanliness is the biggest thing in making sure they load a game and work. Obviously, that's important. Now, what they talk about, though, is, they go through all this stuff, and, it's really hard to source, lenses for things like Dreamcasts and PlayStation 1s. Here's my thing. I kind of find, and someone can prove me wrong, but I feel like that's a bullshit statement to make it sound like they're doing more than they are, because by the time you source lenses and pay someone to restore the system, if you're charging a reasonable amount for that system, you're not making that much money off it. It's the reason why we don't repair PlayStations and Dreamcasts, because once you put the man hours and parts into it, you're no longer making any profit.
Well, that's what I was going to argue from the beginning about. They gotta pay these 20 people.
Yes.
And they gotta pay for the shipping to the warehouse from the various locations, and then pay to ship them from there. The costs have to be passed on at some point. If not during the pilot, they're going to have to be, or else they know this is a failure already and are just using this as a loss leader to get people to the website to buy new games. It still doesn't make any sense.
So
I've had people tweet saying, "Oh, my Ninja Gaiden's clean." One person did get a Namco, a Pac-Man instead of the Tengen. I'm like, that's cool, but I still don't see overall how this is going to be successful.
Tweets about them being clean, and I'm happy for that. But it's not like we ever said you were going to get carts that looked like they were dragged through the mud. No one knew what to expect.
I just still think the prices will still be competitive in the long run because of that.
I don't necessarily think they will. But the thing is I can't say that they're not replacing the lenses. But here's the thing: if they are replacing lenses on things like PS1s and actually putting the effort into restoring a PlayStation 1, that's insane. And also knowing GameStop's previous history, I would not be surprised if they're taking one look at a broken system and trashing it.
Which I wouldn't mind if it's a PS1, because they're worthless for the most part. The gray PS1s are, there's a jillion of them.
Well, sure. I mean, I don't like to see any system tossed.
One of the pictures has them taking the shell off of a gray PS1 and cleaning it for some reason. God, how is that a good use of that person's time when a PlayStation's worth about $15 tops?
Well, and you can clean it without taking it apart too. And I've seen plenty of dirty consoles come out of GameStop's, so part of this could have been for the article. I like seeing the interior. I like knowing that the games are going out clean. I would like to think that the systems are going out clean. I think that this is I think it's overblown and a waste of resources.
And hey, this is nothing against the workers, nothing against them personally. I'm just telling you from the direction. When you're telling people to replace lenses on systems that cost $15, It seems insanity to me.
Right, we have like surgical fucking tools here, and like cleaners and rubber gloves, and I on a PlayStation 1, and it's like, I don't know, it's not a long lost artifact that needs to be handled with kid gloves.
They have a box of games here, and I can't make out all the games. One's a DuckTales, one's looks like a Blaster Master NES games.
Clean it, test it, get it out the door.
I'd love to know how many total systems they got. They show like a drawer of like 8 N64s. And they show like a drawer of other systems of like a bunch of Genesis systems. I'm just interested to know like how many they got overall and what they're doing. I still don't think this is going to be nationwide. I just don't think. I mean, if they have 20 people now handling the inflow from 2 test markets, multiply that times 50. And you're going to tell me you're going to hire 100 people to keep up with the constant influx, and then the prices will dramatically skyrocket for everything.
Well, that's what I said too when we discussed this largely at the mostly at the podcast guide and at Too Many Games, but yeah, I don't see these prices holding. These prices came out and people are like, "Oh, these are pretty decent," but when things are selling out that quickly, or when things were never in stock, they're going to go up, whether it's because they're trying to give people less money for something that they're going to sell for more money than stated later, or because costs are going to get handed down, like you said. I don't see this being good for their prices in the long run, if they even make it in the long run.
So, I think it's cool if they're doing good work. These people, again, nothing against these individuals, are getting paid. They're saying, hey, put on your surgical gloves.
No, that's good stuff.
Have your tool. They had a whole like tool layout of all their tools, so they're prepared to do this work.
I'm happy that clean stuff is going out and that it's working.
Yeah, I'm glad.
That's great.
I'm glad so far people aren't getting screwed with stuff that doesn't work or is crap.
I just don't think that this supposed attention to detail
is warranted.
Is worth it or necessary.